Kelly the Roman Warrior, Part 2, The Plauges of Gaul. Chapter 15, Rat Bat Tell. So good team hard just maked it to Skull Fortress, where evil Sauron's plague was, but the bad rats had come, and there it was over 200 of Tabard rats, and so they had to battle it. Kells pull out her magic sword and swing it at rats and cut off some heads of rat. Dracula got his vampire blood draining sword and stab up some rats, and he absorbed theirs blood to heal himself as well. Teuton's Jam summoned a sand golem, and the sand thing did a sand shot attack and blasted away some more off bad rats. But then out of Tessur in front of Skull Fortress it came a even bigger, more massive a rat, the biggest rat ever on the planet, the size of a house or maybe even 2 houses. And it had a crown of its head made of bulk iron with red metal in that as well, and then it did a jumping attack on Asterix, who did a punch back at face of Bad Rat's king, but he missed. Then Terapnig got onto its back legs and did a fearsome screech and spat some poison at Asterix. He tries to digit, but it didn't work, and then the poison hit him, and he died. "Oh no, Asterix!" shouted Kells, and she got the Avenger wings and flew at the Rat King hardly, but the rat spitted a norther strick of poison. "No!" yellows Boudica, and she jumped into the way, and the poison coagged her on the legs instead. And then Kelly took her sword and slashed it down straight onto neck of Rat King, and the Rat King exploded into a wave of green and black and red blood. "I am sorry for Asterix, but thank you for saving my life," said Kells. "I would have died, but you are badly wounded." "It's nothing," mentioned Boudica. "I am glad I have had the honor to fight by your side for safety in Gaul and Britain and Roman as well. Now quick, we must go inside before Sauron can do any more bad stuff." "Yes." And so they did go into the bad Skull Fortress. Chapter 16, Release the Kraken! At the other place, Elrond and Sirius Black and Saladinros and also Bolanix was going into a spooky woods for finding Orc army. They hard followed some evil foots there, and eventual they come to a clearing into forest. It was a massive clearing, and then Sirius said, "But where is bad Orc army?" And Saladoris, "Relas, I don't not know." And so they did a search for it. Suddenly, Sirius noticed a bit of grass that was different color from rest of grass. It was brown colored, and so he dropped his foot onto it and kicked hard. Thud, thud! It was a secret trap door. "Hey," he shouted, "I have found a top door. Maybe this is where Orc's army is." And so they opened trapdoor with a loud creaking noise. Inside it was Drac, and the 10 walls was damp with something slimy. Sirius did a Lumo spell for lightening up the pulse, and then they gasped. The walls was filled off slimily red and bulk blood and green plague juices, and it was giving off a terrible smell like a dead body that had been left for over 1,000 years to get rottened. The floors was covered in broken bones, and it crunched under the feet as they walked. It was very scare, but the good team was not sacred. Eventually, they came to a rock, and out of the rock was a massive cavern the size of 29 football field, and Sioros floated his Lumios over to see what was down there. The canyon walls was hard cravings of humongous red eyes on it, pianted in blood, and down at bottom it was assembling the most biggest army they had ever seen, even bigger than army of Roman or Gaul or Britain, even more than dark army of Swaron in part 1. It was full of normal orcs and plagued orcs and Plauges trolls and gigantic diseased rats, and there was even some Posion Spectrus, what is like a normal spectre, but instead of ghosty stuff, it was made of bard palhague. And also it was a massive pool of juices and piason and toxicus and other nasty stuff. And as they watched, a beast begins to reas form the pool. It was a plague kraken. It had 8 tentacles, as long as 100 meters each, covered in blasters and bowls, and it had a mouth with 1,000 teeth inside and massive bad eyes, and then it began to roar loudly, "Roar, Rosa!" And the Drac army begins to cheer, "We attack the rest of the Pacific Gausel tonight, and then tomorrow we will conquer Biritan!" shouted Kraken, and then the army cheers even louder than ever. "Oh no, what will we do?" wisped Elrond. Chapter 17, Brave Sacrifice. As the good team was watched the bad Kraken, suddenly it struck hard with its tentacle onto a button on the other side of Craven, and the walls begin to slowly lowering down with a rub-melling noise. And the army did cheer for the Thyred and final team, and so they begins to march out off cave and up onto the Sula face. Kraken was riding on a massive wave of plague and water, and bullrod and skull and dead body way and bones and posion. In each tentacle it had equipped a massive weapon dripping with acid. It had 2 swords, 1 axe, 3 spears, and 2 maces. "No, we are too late!" screamed Obelix. "No," said Sirius Black. "I gave a plan, but we will not make it out alive." And Elrond did a think, and then he said, "If we must die to save the Reold and people of Roman and Gaul and Britian, then we must." Och. And so said the plan. Elrond and Obelix will go down and start to fig-tea the army. Meanwhile, I will stay here and do a spell to make the caravan collapse, kill an army, but I will need time to do spell. Och, we will protect yo. And so Elrond got out his elf sword, and Obelix got his fist, and so they did one final bow to each other, and jumps down of the ledge for the fight. Obelix pick up Hige Boulder and throws it at Kraken, but Cranach blocks and laughed, "Ha ha! Intruders, you cannot stop us!" 1,000 of orcs runs and Elrodden, but he dodged out of way and cheered with his elf sword and kills much orcs with single blow. Kraken lash his tentacle at them, but Obelix grab onto the tentacle and pulls hard onto it, ripping it off, and the Kraken started to bleed, plague blood all over. "No, stop them, army of orcs!" And then 1 million orcs charge at Eldon and Obelix, but just them, they hear loud rumbling nose, rumble, rumble, crash, and the rocks starts to fall in. Just then, Sirius Black jumps down. "Goodbye," they all said to each other. And then the ceiling fell in with mighty crash. All of orcs and troll and Pozoin ghost was kill. But as the rubble was clearing, the plague kraken pulled itself out of it, hard got, missing 4.5 arms, and was badly wounded, but it was still alive. And then it laughed, "Ha ha ha! It will take more than rock to kill a plaguey kraken," and got its wave back and started to go towards Skull Castle for killing rest of Gaul. Chapter 18, Edward's Revenge. Meanwhile, Kelly and Dracula and Tutankhamun and Boudica hard maked it inside the evil Skull Fortress Castle. Boudicca's legs was bleeding bad, and so Kells got a piece of her cloak and ties it round as a bandage. Here, this will help. It's the last I can do. Thanks, Kells. And so they go to Loke for Palse that plague was being kept. Soon they came to a door, and it was locked with big grey steel lock. Dracola tried the key, but it did not. No, this key won't work, he spat. How will we get past? Just then they heard a evil laugh behind them. Ha ha ha! I know that voice, shouted Drusilla. You darned Cullen! And then from behind them there was a clapping sound. Well done, Dracula, you pathetic fool. It is me. I said I would be back to finish what I started. You will never make it out alive, you Dracula most of all. He was still half-aged and had evil red eye marks on his forehead, and then in a flash Dracula had done a sword slash on door and it was sliced open. Go, my friends, I will stop Cullum. No, mentioned Kells, I won't leave you to die. It will be Edward who will die, snarled Darukla, and then he said, go! And so Kells and Tootin and Boodsir all ran through he door quickly. Then Cullen floated towards Dracula. I have been waiting all this time for a rematch, Dracula. I have been given new powers by the new master. I am the power now, even more than you, old vampire. What new master? Relied Dracula. Soon your friends will see, laughed the Edward, and pulled out his sword. What it was also half ghosty, and Dracula got his blood drain sword, and they had a sword figty in the Skull Castle. Dracula swung at Edward, but he blocks, and then Cullen did a slice, but Dracula ducks under it quickly. You are strong, Dracula, but I am the strong-tha, he shouted, and he did a spirity blast maked of plague at Drac, and Dracula was hit. I will not lose to a pathetic like you, gnarled Dracula, and he did a massive stab at Cullen, and he was hit, and Cullen bleeds some plague shot blood. You will pay for that, and Cullen reaches into his pocket and pulled out a Northern ghost bomb, and lighted it, and straighted to laugh. Ha ha ha! No! Yellowed Dracula, and like a lightning, he charged into Erdward and stabs him. The blood-drained sword went into his body, and massive drips of blood came out. Now you are dead. Ha ha! Laughed Edward softly. I am, but you were too late. The bomb will still go off. I will take you with me. And just as Dracula looks down for bomb, a massive explosion fills the corridor, and smoke and lightning and loud noise and stuff. And when it hard cleared, there was nothing left. The corridor was empty. Oh no. Chapter 19. The God of Plauges. As they was running, Kell straighted to cry, No, Dracula, why? And Bodwica hugs her. Don't worry, we will stop this bad plague for him. And then up ahead, Tutankhamun saw an rather doorway, and through he door was a massive drac chamber, where they called hear voices. We must be care, whispered Tutan, and so Kelly and Boyduca and Tutankhamun and Elkis all crept into the drac room in the doorway. Once they was in Sid, they called here three voices. The first voice said, My lords, the Karkan is on his way with his dark army as we spake. Swear on, whispered Kelly. But who is he talk to? Mentoin Tutankhamun. Then the second voice spoke. Good, good, my minion. You have done well for such a pathetic one. It was Voce Kells didn't know. But Tutankhamun said, Oh no, that is voice of Nurgle, the plague god from Warhammer 40k. He must be the one behind all this nasty Plauge, but he is one of the most power beings I have ever known. And then the third voce spoke, and it said, "When Gaul is conquered, then we will go to England and kill all of the people. And then Roman will be the most power land in the whole world. We will deal with the weak Gaulish survivors later." And then Bodwica gasped, but Kells was very quiet. Then she said, "I know that voice. It is the voce of my father." "What?" "I don't know, but I think we must go and find out what is happening here." And so Kells got the Avenger wings, and Tootin Suman summoned a massive sandstorm, and Boudica got her bow and arrows ready, and then Kells lighted up the whole room with goddess powers. Then they called two massive thrones, and Kelly's father, the old Caesar, was sitting in one, and in the other was Nurgle, a horrid Plauge god. He looks like a man, but green and covered in slime and sores, and he had horns on his head, and a extract Plauge stain on his forehead. And then in the middle of room was Suehorn. They all turned to look at Good Team. "Father," yellowed Athena Kells, "what are you doing working for Sauron and Bad Nurgle? I am here to stop this evil plague. Why are you helping them?" "Kells," said the old Caesar, and then he said, "I am working with Nergal. He promised me that together we could destroy the Gaul and the Britian, and Roman will be the only powerful land left. He also got Sauron to work for me as well. He has been a useful servant." "But I don't want to kill all of Gauls and Britons," relied Kells. "They are my friends." And Boudica said, "I thought you were a more honorable man than this, old Caesar." And then Caesar shouted, "What are you doing with her? The Britians kill your mother in an invasion. They must all die." "Enough," yellowed Nergurly. "Sauron, deal with these intruders." "But spare my daughter," said old Caesar. And then the final battle began.
Oh my goodness, what is going to happen? I am on the edge of my seat as this story reaches its thrilling climax. In the meantime, thank you to all of my incredible Patreon supporters, particularly Andre D, Break System BSE, Michael Fattori, Zanazira, and Zachary Snowden-Smith, for making this exhibit possible. Thank you for joining us on this adventure, and thanks for being you.